I've been working on this project for months now. I think at least since November or December last year. So that's almost 6 months that I've been working on this. And I shouldn't have been surprised because this has been kind of I wouldn't say hard, but definitely challenging and a project that requires my full attention. I'm still kind of recovering from my arm, having been a little bit injured last year from knitting too much. So I try not to knit at really long stretches. But I want to show you what it looks like so far, and maybe hopefully very soon it'll be done. So this is the Minou cardigan, and I'll show a picture of it so that you can see what it looks like finished. I've been really into cardigans lately. I've only really knitted two, one of which I frogged. We made a whole video about it. And the other one I wear almost every day when it's like spring-ish weather, which kind of told me I need more cardigans. I clearly like reach for cardigans more than I do like full pullovers, and I've mostly knit pullovers in the past. So cardigan it is. But me being me, I didn't want just like a plain old cardigan. Like I already made a plain one. Now I wanted something more interesting and challenging and fun. And so I reached out for this cardigan. I am currently on the second sleeve. So we're getting there, but it has proven to be a lot of work. I am using Knitting for Olive in Merino, which is like a fingering weight yarn. And I think this might even be the yarn that was called for in the pattern, I think. And it's my first time using Knitting for Olive, weirdly enough. I've seen this brand many, many times before, but I never actually bought it until last year in September when I went on a New York City yarn store crawl with a friend, and I also made a video about that. And this was one of the purchases that I made, and I made it specifically thinking of this specific cardigan that I wanted to make. And I got it in the color Dusty Rose, which is this beautiful pinkish, but like, yeah, Dusty Rose, dusty light pink. I've really enjoyed and it knits beautifully and it's been fun. The pattern does call for holding the yarn together with some mohair. And at the time when I was at the knitting stores, I tried looking for mohair that was similar. I couldn't quite find something that I liked. And then when I did find it and I did the calculation of how much it would have been to buy all of this yarn and the mohair, it was a lot. And I know that you invest on this, but I just, at the time, I didn't feel like dropping however $300 or more that it was to buy like the entire quantity of the sweater in both the merino and the mohair. So I decided, you know what, it probably will be the same. It won't be the same. It would have been more luxurious if I was using the mohair, but I figure it would be fine without it. And I just made sure that my gauge was right before I started, and I just stuck to this one. So so far I don't really regret that choice because it's kind of like airier that way. It's gonna be more wearable. It's May right now. But I don't even know when I'm gonna finish this. Hopefully this month. I really want to finish it before it gets too warm and I can't really wear it. Like right now would be perfect weather. I really wanted to finish it while there were still, pink cherry blossom trees in the city to take pictures with them, but they're already gone. So that's not happening, at least not this year. So instead, I am just trying to finish it, period, before it's too warm and I can't wear it until it gets colder again. The reason why it has taken me so long to finish this project other than my injury is because it requires a lot of attention. Like even the fact that I'm knitting this right now and talking, it's kind of insane. But I am, at this point kind of really used to the pattern, but still, this pattern includes a lot of things. It has brioche all throughout. It also has cables. And plus the construction was kind of interesting. It was different than what I'm used to. It was kind of constructed in one piece as a cardigan rather than go, parts separate or like, I don't know, some other way of constructing. Like you start knitting kind of the back and then you turn into the front. I already forgot how it went, but like the body is one piece, and then you gotta do the back and then the front, and then you put them together and do like the body. So it's kind of a weird construction that require a lot of attention. I actually messed up the body, the front of the cardigan, one of the sides. I messed it up the first time, so I had to do it again. And then you know, once you got that, which I already did that, then you get to the sleeves, and the sleeves are not as hard, and they're less, the rows, you know, have less stitches, but they take forever. So I'm on the second sleeve and I'm already so done. I know this is gonna be worth it. I know it's gonna look beautiful, but then when I finish the sleeves, I still have to do the button band of the cardigan, which requires double knitting, and I've never done double knitting. I'm sure I'll figure it out, but yeah, no, that's gonna be another thing that I'm gonna have to figure out. So like I said, this is currently the second sleeve, and I want to show you what I've got so far. So I've got the body and one sleeve finished. So here's the one finished sleeve. As you can see, I'm missing the button band, but I really like how this sleeve is turning out. Definitely think that this is gonna benefit a lot from blocking. Like, it's beautiful, but it definitely needs blocking. I'm gonna block it before I do the button band so that I have like a better, cleaner surface to pick up stitches. So, and it's also what the pattern says to do. So here's where I'm at. Finish another sleeve, button band, blocking, and then I'll come back and show you what the finished piece looks like. And I hope that it was worth all the work. I know it will be worth all the work. And I still have two skeins. I'm almost done with this one, so I'm definitely gonna need another one for finishing the sleeve and maybe the button band. I don't know if I'll use the last skein. Maybe I will have one left over. Maybe not, we'll see. But that's where I'm at the moment. I'll come back hopefully in not too many weeks from now and show you what this looks all finished.
Eternity later.
And it's done. I did it. I finished, and it only took me over 6 months because it's June now and it's actually too hot to be wearing it. Today is a little bit cooler, so I was able to actually wear it and record, but it's already too late. It's kind of more of a spring cardigan, which is fine. The spring will come, the fall will come, and I will be able to wear it more. But I am so happy that it's finally done, and I think it looks really nice. I did have my hiccups towards the end of this project, even after all of the processing and finishing that I still had to be done. When I finished the sleeves and I tried it on, I could tell, I mean, they were like the perfect length, and that got me a little bit worried because I knew once I blocked it that they were gonna, you know, grow a little bit, which always happens when you block a project. And I wanted that for the body because the body felt a little small, and you know, this is a lot of brioche and lace, so it was obviously gonna happen. But I was trusting the process and kind of following the pattern as is, and I shouldn't have done that because once I blocked it, of course, the sleeves grew, and they were much longer than my arms. They were maybe like 2 inches longer, and it did look kind of weird. So it's not a terrible thing to fix, honestly. If you've never done it before, all you gotta do is kind of basically frog back to where you want just, you know, the actual length to be. And I even did it with a lifeline, which is you do that by placing either a piece of yarn or an actual needle through kind of like the area, pick up the stitches where you want to kind of finish off after frogging. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit hard because of the stitches themselves, because being brioche and cable, I didn't do it perfectly, so I did have to end up kind of like frogging it and just finding the stitches, but I managed to do it. It didn't take very long, and I got the right length for both of my sleeves. I mean, they're still puffy and kind of long, which is cute, I think, but they are now like a much more normal kind of size. I didn't block it again because I didn't want them to like grow even more, so I just left it as is. And the body, I think, was great. I think the length came out to be really nice. It's very cozy sweater, and I'm gonna be very hot by the end of this recording, but that's okay. Another thing that I wanted to point out that I kind of made a mistake in was the button band. So I think it's fine. It turned out fine, but this was my first time knitting with double knitting, which is I found that wasn't really hard at all. If you've never done double knitting before, I do recommend it for something like a button band because it has such a clean finish once you're done. And basically what you do is you knit the front and the back at the same time by skipping stitches. So you knit one, you skip a stitch, you knit another one, you skip a stitch, and then when you turn your work around, you skip the opposite stitches, and that way you end up with that kind of like double stitch stockinette look on both sides. So that was a pretty cool new thing to do. I know you can do it with two colors. I hope to find a project that uses that because it was fun. But, and big but, one thing that the pattern wasn't very clear on was like the positioning of the buttons, and kind of left it up to you to kind of measure and put them sort of where you wanted them. And I think by then I was just so tired that when I figured out the buttons, I miscalculated a little bit. I had 4 buttons that I bought, and the last button was supposed to end kind of where I have the button right now, which is where the cardigan kind of goes to either side of the body. And unfortunately, I miscalculated. I don't know, I couldn't tell where that was happening, and I ended up putting the last button hole a little too high. And once I was actually sewing the buttons is when I noticed that if I actually had put one where I placed the button band, it would have been too high, I think. I mean, I guess I could still do it, but it would be too like high up. So I left it without a button. So now I have an extra button, but I think it looks fine just with 3 buttons. Like, it doesn't look bad or anything. It's just that the only way of fixing that would be to undo the button band and do it all over again. And I am not doing that. So I'm just leaving with it, and maybe I'll add a extra button, see how it looks, or maybe I'll just leave it with 3. I think it doesn't matter. I think it still looks nice, and if I don't point it out, probably you wouldn't even notice. And the button band itself turned out really nice. It's just that the miscalculation kind of gets me stuck with that buttonhole. But it's all good. I did it. I finished. All in all, I think this is a very complicated pattern, not just because of the types of stitches that you have to use, and because the repeats, you have to pay attention to what you're doing, but the construction is also not very beginner friendly, and the pattern itself is okay. There's some parts that maybe are not super defined that I had a little bit harder time with, but it's also, I've been working on this for so long. It took forever. It was a slow to knit pattern just because of, again, all the brioche and the cables, that it just requires to pay a lot of attention, and you go very slowly, and so I'm used to being sort of decently fast, and I'm not all for being the fastest knitter or anything like that, but it did take me over 6 months to finish this. I started it like late last year, and I usually don't spend that much time in a project, so for many reasons this took forever, and I am really happy with the result. But I don't think I'll knit this again. I don't know, maybe I'll give myself a break from super complicated cardigan patterns, because I do really like the look of the cardigans, and they are very comfy and wearable, but they're definitely more work, I would say, than a pullover, which I don't wear as much. So I do kind of have to either make my mind and be like, okay, I'm going to spend a long time in this next cardigan, or try different projects. And for now, I think I'm gonna try different projects before I dip into another cute cardigan. But if you're up for a challenge and you like the look of this, I think it's it's pattern worth to do. It is very unique looking. It was definitely not boring, and it took a lot of patience and a lot of time. But in the end, I think this is gonna be something that I wear a lot, and that people are going to compliment. And I really like the color. I really liked working with knitting for olive for the first time. I'm kind of okay with the fact that I didn't held the yarn double the way that it was supposed to be with another yarn. It would have been fussier. It would have been maybe warmer, but I'm fine with it being kind of more airy, and it's still pretty warm because it's still wool. So I don't think I don't miss basically having had the other yarn help with this. Basically, I don't regret my decision to only use one strand of yarn, of wool yarn for this. I think if you want to go for it and you don't want to spend the double yarn quantity, then it's totally fine to do as long as you meet gauge, and that's what I did. The color itself is really cute. I don't wear a lot of pink usually, so this is kind of a nice tone for me that, it's pink, but it's not like bright pink. I know some people really like that. I personally am not into that color, but I like this kind of mauve, pinkish color. I really like the buttons and how they turned out looking. I bought the buttons with the yarn at the same time, and it was worth doing that, and they were really nice quality, and I feel like they elevate the cardigan. They're really cute and they like contrast but go with it well enough that it works. So yeah, that is my final review of this Minou cardigan. I would love to hear what you guys think of the pattern and the way that it turned out, and if you would like to knit this as well. Please don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up with all my projects. I hope they won't be taking me 6 months anymore. I will be making a lot more different things. And I also recommend patterns. I also show you some of the projects that I've been working on. And I also design my own patterns. So if you want to check those out and stay in the loop for all the things knitting, please click that subscribe button and I will see you on the next one. Happy knitting!